Hello A&P students, my name is Eric Barn, and today I'm going to be going over some good ways to remember some of the ligaments from your structure list. So, the way I like to remember your ankle ligaments is based on the type of injury that may tear them. So, the first injury I want to go over is an ankle sprain. So if you look to the picture to the right, you can see that Celtics player right here spraining his ankle. So the ligaments affected here are going to be your calcaneofibular ligament, your anterior talofibular, and your posterior talofibular. So let's go over to visible body and find those. Alright, so here we are in visible body, and we're going to be focusing on this ligament right here, this ligament right here, and this ligament right here. So I'll give you guys a second to try to name those ligaments. Okay, so this ligament right here, we're going to be calling this one the anterior talofibular, which if you look opposite of that, we can call this one the posterior talofibular. And then the only one remaining would be the calcaneofibular. So if you think back to that picture of the Celtics player rolling his ankle, you can see how these ligaments may be stretched and at risk of being torn. So if you think of an ankle sprain, you can think of these three ligaments and how they may be stretched or torn. So to remember the next two ligaments, I like to think of a high ankle sprain. And the ligaments affected in a high ankle sprain are going to be your anterior tibiofibular and your posterior tibiofibular. And it's important to differentiate between the tibiofibular and the talofibular. So let's go find those on visible body. Alright, so here we are in visible body again. And you can actually see both ligaments from this lateral view. So we're going to be focusing on this ligament right here and this ligament right here. And I'll pause for a second to give you guys a chance to name each one. Alright, so this ligament right here is going to be called the anterior tibiofibular ligament, and that's because it's located more anterior. And then opposite of that, you can see the posterior tibiofibular ligament, which will be located posterior to that anterior ligament. So a high ankle sprain is going to be happening when the tibia and the fibula are trying to be forced apart, which is going to put strain on these ligaments right here, which may cause them to stretch or tear. And that's what I like to associate with these two ligaments. So the next two ligaments I want to go over are your lateral collateral ligament and your medial collateral ligament. So I'll point them out in visible body first. So this right here is going to be your lateral collateral ligament, aka your fibular collateral ligament. And if we look medially, we can see this right here is going to be our medial collateral ligament, and this is also known as our tibial collateral ligament. So relating this back to what type of injury could tear these ligaments, I have taken a picture of visible body here, and I've marked medial on the left here and lateral on the right here. And we know this because the fibula will always be on the lateral side. So just a quick overview of valgus and varus forces. So a valgus force is going to be working to push the knee inward or medially. So if you can imagine a valgus force pushing the knee inward, we can imagine the medial collateral ligament, which is running right here, is going to be stretched and at risk of being torn. And then the opposite of that would be a varus force. So a varus force would work to push the knee outwards or laterally. And if we can imagine a varus force pushing the knee outward, we can imagine the lateral collateral ligament right here being stretched and at risk of being torn. So this is how a valgus force could potentially tear the medial collateral ligament, or a varus force could potentially tear the lateral collateral ligament right here. So the last thing I want to go over with you guys is a tip to remember your shoulder ligaments. So the best way for me to learn these was to dissect the name, and then by dissecting the name, the ligament will tell you exactly where it is on the body. So let's go over to visible body, and I can point these out for you guys. Okay, so now that we're in visible body, I'll pause for a second and let you guys try to name these ligaments by yourself. Alright, so the first ligament I want to point out is the coracoacromial ligament. So if we think coraco as the coracoid process right here, and the acromion is right here, we can see these fibers right here are running from the coracoid process to the acromion, then we can name this the coracoacromial ligament. Then the next one I want to go over with you guys is the glenohumeral ligament. which if we change the view a little bit to right there, we can see fibers running from the glenoid fossa right about here over to the humerus. So we're going to name this ligament right here the glenohumeral ligament. Alright, now the next one I want to go over with you guys is the coracohumeral ligament. So again, coraco is coracoid process and humeral is humerus. So if we look at these fibers right here, they're running from the coracoid process over to the humerus. So we're going to name this the coracohumeral ligament. Then the next ligament I want to go over is the transverse humeral ligament, which is very close to this guy right here. It's going to be right under, and this is going to be your transverse humeral ligament. And I like to remember this because the fiber direction here is in the transverse plane. Then the next one I want to go over is called the coracoclavicular ligament. So again, we're going to start from the coracoid process here, and then we have the clavicle right here. So we're going to look for fibers running from the coracoid process to the clavicle, and we can see that right here. So we're going to name this the coracoclavicular ligament. And then the last ligament I want to go over is called the acromioclavicular ligament. So if we point out the acromion again right here, and then we point out the clavicle right here, we can see these fibers right here running from the clavicle over to the acromion. So we'll name this the acromion clavicular ligament. Alright, so thank you guys for your time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.